powered by Riverside.
Hello, and welcome into TheSadFan, where we talk about the good, the bad, and everything that made you sad from sports this week. And I'm just going to prepare everyone ahead of time. It's NFL-centric. It's the playoff time. It's the biggest sport. It's the biggest sport in the States. And I will start. The Las Vegas Raiders continue to be a blight, and their fans continue to be a blight on society. And I am so sad that I consider myself one of those fans, but it's just miserable. They're so bought into Josh McDaniels now. It's so weird. And Patrick Graham, and they're both coming back next year. The amount of quarterbacks since it's Photoshopping season that I have seen Photoshopped into a Raiders jersey makes me want to blow my brains out. And it's funny because I follow very near to every team's Twitter, and the amount of teams photoshopping Lamar Jackson into their jersey is astounding, considering he's definitely going back to the Ravens. But let's just stick to the Raiders. Let's stay on topic, Fry. Shut your ADD down for 10 seconds. Go ahead, Wes.
Fry, can you get original? It seems like every week for like the last month, they've been what makes you sad.
Yeah, I mean, that's where my heart resides. Okay?
You're such a sad boy.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
This show is called The Sad Fan.
The Sad Raiders fan is what we should call it.
No one's going to talk about them, and all I keep hearing is, Derek Carr was a top 12 quarterback in the NFL. Derek Carr was this. Derek Carr was that. And I'm like, I would tend to agree. And I said on this show, I wanted a better option than him, and you gave me Jared Stidham. And everybody was all on his jock until 2 interceptions later and blowing the game in the final game of the season against the Chiefs. And I was like, you still want him? Is he still a guy? And then, all of a sudden, everybody that was on Twitter the week before against the 49ers was like, I guess Jared Stidham is. Can you guys not be so hyperbolic and actually have a real opinion on something? Not just, I saw him throw a touchdown pass. The guy for 20 years. He threw an interception. Never mind. Here we go again. And I'm like, grow up. Do some real analysis, okay? Jared Stidham's not the guy. He's never been the guy. He wasn't the guy at Baylor. He wasn't the guy at Auburn. He wasn't the guy in New England to replace Tom Brady because he got beat out by Mac Jones. Shut up and learn football. And don't tell me you know football. He obviously knows the Josh McDaniels system. Yeah, not well enough to take out Mac Jones, did he? So, there's a lot there. There's a lot of reasons why the Raiders make me sad. And it's mostly the fans, to be honest, Wes. It is.
Can I interest you in a team called the Seahawks?
No, I've got one Seattle team.
We can welcome you with open arms.
I've got one Seattle team in my arsenal, okay? It's the Seattle Kraken, and I will be a fan of them forever. They are my hockey team. That's my quarterback. Wes, you were talking to me about what made you sad this week, and you said it could be the end of Tom Brady, and I said that's impossible. All he needs to do is drink some more blood of the innocent and have some avocado ice cream, and they will have him back on the field. But Julio Jones is one I can relate to you on because he used to be an absolute monster. So how did that make you feel? You obviously sad. but what was that correlation between what he used to be and what he is now that you're like, dang, this is depressing?
I mean, he used to be the best wideout in the league, and now he's just a shell of his former self. And, I mean, it was nice seeing him get that touchdown, but it's going to be sad seeing him go. I mean, I think he's probably going to retire after this year, and, thanks for the memories. I was always so annoyed watching the Seahawks go up against the Falcons because I knew Julio was just going to burn us for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns, even if we double, triple teamed them.
Yeah. He was the first DK Metcalf freak, I think. Andre Johnson was great, but he wasn't built like Julio. Julio was Mr. Olympia out there, just yep. Yeah, I think I'm going to catch the ball and run over every single cornerback because they're all 5 inches shorter than me and about 100 pounds less weight. They can't jump as high. He was an absolute alien out there. But at least you didn't have to worry about the Falcons playing the Seahawks too much because, I agree. It's interesting to see these people that really transform certain positions leave the game. But he didn't play at all this year. It's time. Yeah. Hang him up, Julio. Hang him up. You're a Hall of Famer already.
And, TB12 might go, so if this is the last
he's
we
not
see of
going
TB12,
anywhere. He's not going
this
anywhere.
This is the last we see of TB12.
He should.
Thanks.
Go ahead, Chelsea. He should.
He should, and I'm just gonna say, like, everyone's like, "Oh, just wait until the playoffs." You know, the Bucks are like, yeah, of course they're like middling this year, but he's gonna pull it out of the bag in the playoffs, and this is absolutely. He did not. He looked flat, and the fact is like when you build an offensive scheme like all around your quarterback's arm and you have nothing else to go to, if that arm is not working the way that it should be, it's not connecting, it wasn't his laser precision focused, surface to air missiles that he usually has out of that arm, well, then you get the Cowboys beating the Buccaneers, and the score should not have been 31-14. I mean, as we all know, there was some extra points that were missed there. But the score should have been 31-0, honestly, like besides, what was going on over there. It should have been 0 because they were playing like garbage. There was nothing that was coming together the whole time. Like there were just series after series after series of 3-and-outs.
He threw his first red zone interception since 2019. And it's funny because they put the graphic up on the screen and I was like, he's going to throw a pick here, isn't he? He's going to throw a pick here. And what did he do?
Wes, you're like, announce his curse. There it is.
Yeah,
here it goes.
And he was under 50% completion until like the fourth quarter when they benched all of their starters.
Gotcha. Well, Chelsea, really quick, I would say let's not forget that 2 weeks prior to this game, he threw for almost 400 yards and threw 2 deep passes to Mike Evans, who was inexplicably wide open, riding down the field on what looked like a white steed. But outside of that, I think I thought of what made you sad, Chelsea, because it was the first exclamation you made when we were talking about this. You're like, oh, I felt bad. Mahir. That's how you pronounce it. Mahir. Is it Maher? He's the mayor of Dallas? Not anymore. He's not.
Yeah, something like that. But yeah.
But you said you felt really bad for him jogging out there every time.
I did because the thing is like, all these Twitter boys are like, oh, I could have made that kick. And no,
you can't.
First of all, you couldn't. Second of all, like, this is such a psychological aspect of the game. Like, if you get a kicker who is on a hot streak, he's going to continue on that hot streak because in practice, 10 out of 10 times, he's going to make every single kick, even from like 3/4 of the way down the field, like 75 yards away, he's going to make the kick. It's just once you get into the actual game time situations, the pressure, everything like that, and you have to actually kick the ball up over everyone so that way they can't block it. There's like a lot of physics involved in actually making the field goal, right? And I just think it's really sad that, we see someone fail at it multiple times and just everyone, all these keyboard warriors are like, oh, he should be like totally kicked off the team. And I have to admit, I did text my brother, you about to lose your job, gif, but still, we all know that you could not actually make that kick. And
yeah, it was.
To be fair, the Cowboys have said that they are going to go ahead and
stick with him. Yeah.
But what they should have done in the game was actually probably pulled the point after attempt and gone for 2.
Well,
and it was just really crazy that they weren't doing that.
It's funny you say that because at one point it was like 4th and 5, I think, and it was like they were at the 20-yard line, so it would have been like I think just a little bit longer than an extra point. And he started running out there, and then he looks back, and they're like, no, we're going for it, and he's like,
get off the field.
Fine.
Well, I mean, no, I don't think he was like fine. I think he was like, oh, thank God. like I think that's the real reaction to that, because you got to think these guys get in their own heads when this stuff starts happening. You're like, nothing I could do is right. But yes, it is funny watching all.
But at the same time, like if you're a professional athlete, you want to, and like you screwed up 4 times, you're like, I could freaking do this. Like just let me, like give me another shot. I can do it. I promise.
But someone needs to. I've talked about this on the show. Save them from themselves. Someone needs to take the shovel out of their hand and be like, no, that's enough dirt. You're good. You can bury yourself in this much dirt. It's fine.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried to kick a field goal, Chelsea?
Yes, I have, and it did not go well.
What about you, Wes? Did you try to kick a field goal?
Yeah, I've tried.
Did you make it?
No, it was from like the 10, 15-yard line. I can't remember, but no.
So I'll tell you,
I was a little low of the crossbar.
You were low. You were short. Go ahead, Chelsea.
Yeah. So track and field, we had a lot of time during high school practice because I was a thrower. I wasn't a runner. And so we'd often just have nothing to do. And so one of the things that we would do is quite often try to kick field goals just for shits and giggles. And no, I never made one. Ever.
Yeah, that's for a lot of people that have never played Pop Warner football. We'll start all the way back in Pop Warner and move our way all the way up through high school into college. Once you get to college, you don't get to do this stuff anymore. They actually have kickers. But in Pop Warner, they line up all the little kids, 8 years old. All the little kids, 8 years old up, through till you go into high school, and you all like practice. And whoever kicked the ball the furthest, that's your kicker, right? They put it on the tee. And whoever kicks it the furthest, that's the kicker for that year. And it's one of the more fun things you do as an 8-year-old is like, oh, I can do it. And you just keep trying. And everyone's terrible, to be clear. Like, there's always one kid, though, that can do the toe kick, which is where you can just kick it with the front of your toe and nail it. Outside of that, though, I remember after football practice going out, trying to kick field goals, putting the ball on a tee, trying to kick it off of a tee, not even with a holder on just grass. Trying to kick it off of a tee, and you just can't do it. Like, you put it at, the 10-yard line, you just can't do it. I have maybe out of thousands of just for giggles tries made one field goal in my entire life. You cannot get off your couch and kick a field goal, right? And I think Wes can actually relate to this and I could relate to this because I don't train I can outlift Wes in a weight room, but I cannot outrun Wes in like a Spartan race. I just can't do it anymore. But his first one, I whooped his ass, right? I waited for him, but his very first one, I crushed him. It wasn't close. Like, I kept waiting, but it was his first one ever, okay? After that, now I just tell him to go, like, don't wait for me, it's fine. And the only way I can catch Wes is some of the obstacles. That's the only way I can catch up to him, is I can meet him on some of the obstacles where it's either a two-person obstacle and he needs my help, or he can't get over a hay bale. Like, those are the only two places I can catch him. But
I don't need your help with the walls anymore. I need your help with the walls the first year. Now I don't need you for anything.
No, that's baloney, because you needed help for the walls in Portland, Oregon as well. And that was the second year. That was the first year after COVID, because we didn't run a Spartan our first year. We ran two Tough Mudders. But, however, I remember that forever because I helped you get over the wall. Right, I pushed you over the wall, and then I helped like a group of like 3 people get back over the wall, and then I look up, and there was no one there to help me. I was like, everybody just kept going. I was like, where did everyone go?
I was there waiting for you at the top of the wall.
Now Wes just gets annoyed with the people that don't. So I taught Wes, like, hey, make sure you look up what obstacles there are so you can study it beforehand. And now Wes is very helpful, but he gets because we know them all. But now Wes is very helpful trying to help people, but he visibly gets annoyed with people that didn't do their research ahead of time and doesn't understand the obstacle. Like, if you watch his face and he runs into people that don't know how to do the obstacle, he's like, no, you got to do it like this. You got to do it like this. And when they're not listening to him, he's like,
that sounds about right.
But what that is what that is Wes put his whole body into it. He started training, and now he's really, really good at these things because he's passionate about it. He works at them. You can't just get off your couch and do something. As much as you think you can, you cannot do it. Now, the Chargers' response to not being able to hold off the Jaguars with a 27-point lead was fire everyone. Fire everyone. I know. Your Fabio-haired steed, Justin Herbert, just couldn't make it happen, Wes. And you put all your eggs in that Herbert basket.
I did. I mean, it was the same thing when Mariota came out. I kind of took the Titans as my second team. And now
to be clear, you still take Mariota on everything, even this far into his career.
I mean, I was glad he got a starting shot with the Falcons, but I think at this point he just, I don't know. If his career started off differently, he could have been better. But yeah, I was really sad. I was hoping Herbert would get that playoff dub. But
yeah, is there an Oregon quarterback with a playoff dub?
I'm pretty sure Mariota won. a playoff game.
Oh, you're right. He did with that Tennessee Titans team. You're right.
Yeah,
because I remember they went to the Nashville Predators game and they were chugging beers.
That was the game when the ball was deflected. He threw it. He caught his own pass and then ran it in for the touchdown.
That's right. Yes, I forgot about that. I forgot. Yeah, he did win. You were going nuts. Yeah, I should have remembered that because you were going absolutely nuts. Quack, quack, quack all across my screen. All right. So, Chelsea, what's your response to a team we're just going to fire everyone when this happens? Oh, but not me, though. But not me. I'm good. I did a good job.
I mean, it's incredible how stupid people are instead of really actually looking at their organization and figuring out where the weak link is, and that sometimes it's you. But yeah, exactly like you said, you don't fire yourself, so you gotta.
Well,
I don't know. You just spring cleaning.
I think the decision was made by the owner and the GM not to fire Brandon Staley, but to get rid of Joe Lombardi. And I mean, because when you blow that kind of lead, I mean, something's people are out for blood. Not just the fans and everybody's out for blood. So you got to do something. Yeah. But at the same time, you don't want to fire your head coach after just 2 years, especially when he got you to the playoffs, even though he's made a lot of questionable decisions. You don't just want to blow it up.
A lot of questionable decisions is a great way to say
and
that.
I think one of the big reasons
right,
is
Chelsea?
There was a rumor that Sean Payton didn't like the ownership of the Chargers. And so I think it was for them, Brandon Staley or Sean Payton. And then they kind of got the vibe that Sean Payton didn't want to go to the Chargers, so stuck with Staley.
Okay. Chelsea, what were you going to say?
They did blow everything up, though. I mean,
on the offensive side of the ball, for sure.
Yeah. It's just strange to me because they did have some level of success this year. It's not like it was a complete loss of a season for them that would require, cleaning out just everyone. Because that's
Where was Wes on that Eminem verse really right there that she just gave? I fully expected Wes to come in with Eminem because you said cleaning out the closet, and I thought Wes was going to come in with the full end
cleaning
of the verse.
Out my closet.
My brother does know the words to every single Eminem song, and
What's his favorite rapper of all time?
At least, well, his first three albums. His first three albums, yes. After that, not as much.
I don't know. He knew every single song in the
Lose
Korean
Yourself,
karaoke.
absolutely, yes.
In the Korean karaoke joint, he went down the list and just took the microphone.
Well, he helped every little white blonde boy get accepted into rap. So
yeah.
So I was surprised he didn't hit you with that just now because that would have been so Wes, or at least worded behind there. There's a lot wrong with the Chargers, in my opinion, and it starts with Brandon Staley. But like we've all said, you're not going to fire yourself. You just can't have that roster and play that bad. And it's funny to me. It's comical that they've had great receivers, great running backs from LaDainian Tomlinson, Melvin Gordon to now Eckler, and good quarterbacks, really solid quarterbacks. I mean, Herbert's a good quarterback. I tease, but he's a really good quarterback. Has a ton of potential, but he looks like Phillip Rivers out there. He looks like Humphreys out there. Like, he doesn't look like the quarterback he should. He should look more in the league of the Aaron Rodgers, the Patrick Mahomes style quarterback, and he just doesn't. So maybe it is the right thing to blow up on the offensive end. But I'm not going to neglect that Brandon Staley is a defensive coach. He is a defensive coach, and he gave up a 27-point lead to the Jaguars, whose weapons are Zay Jones and Kirk. Like, I'm not going to do that. Christian Kirk, because those are your weapons.
And they got Mike Williams hurt in a meaningless game that they still lost.
Yeah. So I don't think this is going to happen to Herbert. But how do you guys feel about the quarterback shuffle that's going on right now? Aaron Rodgers might go somewhere else, exploring options in Green Bay or other places. Tom Brady's definitely leaving Tampa, so no more Tampa Tom. Gosh, we got so many quarterbacks. Oh, Daniel Jones is now one of the best quarterbacks of all time. They're like, well, where would you rate Daniel Jones in terms of hyperbolic reactions to winning your first playoff game. Where do you rate him? Where is he? Where's Daniel Jones? Great? Is he great? Do we re-sign him now? Like, okay, so where do you guys exactly temper the expectations?
I'm talking to you. Chill.
No, I'm imitating. I'm doing a bit, Wes. I'm doing a bit.
Your bit sucks. Aaron Rodgers needs to retire.
Yes.
Okay. Aaron's
Go
done.
away, Aaron Rodgers. Get off my screen. I hate your hair. I hate everything about you. Go away.
I hate your hair.
You look like a freaking California beach bum. Go away.
Wow, what's wrong with that?
I'm just going to say that, like, okay, if you're in the league and you are older than me, and I am a woman of a certain age these days, it's probably time for you to just go. Like, go.
Age as much.
Sit on the couch, take a nap. I mean, Tom Brady is like almost a decade older than me. Like, come on, man. Like, just
he's closer to 50 than he is to 40. So
yeah, I'm just saying this is someone who like had their ass kicked in by COVID for like more than 2 weeks now. I can't imagine being hit every single week and like still functioning at this point because I mean I just got a little sick. And I just want to lay on the couch. I just want to take a nap. What are these guys doing?
Tom Brady is juicing avocados and the blood of the innocent. I said it when we started the podcast.
What juice?
He figured it out.
I don't understand.
He figured it out. I don't know how he did it. I don't want to say it's steroids, but maybe. What? Who said that? That was weird.
Blood has a lot of protein in it.
Blood does have a lot of protein. Thank you, Wes.
It's making blood protein shakes.
All right. And no, I don't think Daniel Jones is all of a sudden an amazing quarterback. I think he's in a great system. I did not expect him to be Michael Vick in the playoff game. That's not what I expected. Leading his team in rushing yards in that game, but against the Vikings. Also, the Vikings defense didn't show up. The Vikings offense didn't show up. The Vikings didn't show up. They forgot it was a home game. Go ahead, Chelsea.
Kirk Cousins throws checkdowns on 4th and 8 with the game on the line.
Yeah, I mean, even the crowd did not even seem to remember that it was a home game. They just did not care. They were just drunk or something. Like, the stadium was quiet. There were boos. I mean, it was almost like it wasn't quite as bad as like the Buccaneers. Like the Buccaneers crowd was real sad. Sad. About halftime is when they actively started booing Tom Brady.
Florida. That's Florida.
But like the Minnesota, for being as well renowned of a stadium and environment as they are, they were not in that game whatsoever.
I like the skull chant. I think that's one of the coolest things in all of football is the skull chant. It was just not a great game for them, and we're seeing Kirk Cousins just when he is the one with all the lights on, he just can't perform. But you know who can perform, Wes? The Bengals defense. And I woke up to a text from you because that game happens at an ungodly hour here in England. That all it said was, that was an amazing play with way too many exclamation points and in all capitals. So I knew when I got that, I was like, I have to go see what this actually, like, what play. And it is, in fact, in Wes's like defense, it was amazing. And it was the first play on ESPN. It was the very first play when you click on the game. Yeah. And it was funny because the first time I watched it, I'm like half asleep still. And I'm like, how did he get the ball? Like, that was the first thing. And I was like, how did he get the ball? I didn't see the ball. So then, you zoom in on the video and you're like, oh, it like bounces off someone's helmet or someone's like head and lands like perfectly like a little baby. Like a little baby right in his arms.
And the best part was I can't remember who it was, but he like kind of like pushed him from the side and a little bit behind, and he was like, I didn't do it. I didn't, not from behind, not a block from the back.
It did look like a clip on video. It absolutely looked like a block at the back, like he got clipped. Yeah. And it's funny because you're absolutely right, Wes. The player's like, I'm not touching him. I'm not touching him. But that was fun. That was an obvious game. Once we all knew Lamar Jackson wasn't going to play, it was an easy pick. Oh yes, and I want to give before we move towards the end.
It was a lot closer than I thought.
I do want to give Wes credit because Wes, before any national pundit, And even Miami announced it, said Tua's not going to play. Miami's going to lose. He was the very first person to say it. No one else was saying it, but Wes literally, like, without skipping a beat, he's like, Tua's not playing, and the Dolphins are losing. But that was a crazy game, too. That game was nuts.
I don't know how it was that close because, I mean, turnovers, but Bills dominated it. Like,
you know, Mike McDaniels is a good coach, I think. I think we just need to accept he's a good offensive coach. He can scheme because Buffalo's defense isn't a joke. Buffalo has
a good coach? Doug Peterson.
Doug Peterson can scheme, too. And he just looks like, whenever I see Doug Peterson, I picture a guy in a marina cleaning his boat. Like, that's what I picture whenever I see Doug Peterson. He looks like he's on the marina cleaning his boat.
That's fair. That's fair.
So it is funny to see Doug Peterson out there just getting it done every chance he gets. He's got a good team. I think the Jags are going to dominate that terrible AFC South for a very long time with that quarterback and that running back. They just need to get another weapon at receiver, like a starting receiver, and that team's going to be really, really good. All right. We finally got him in, everyone, at the SadFan. We got in our resident PA so we could actually get some medical advice. But fantasy seasons are over, but you could still go to DraftKings or FanDuel. Neither one of them sponsors us yet. We're open to offers. Please.
Message us.
Go ahead. We will try to get him in. He's a busy guy. He is a PA. But we'll try to get him in for fantasy advice in the future when it comes to your fantasy football teams, your daily fantasy. But for now, we're talking injuries that have occurred prior to the playoffs, one that may still impact the playoffs, right? And then two that may impact your free agency. So why don't we start with the injury that could impact the playoffs? Jimmy G broke his foot, right?
Oh, yes, Jimmy G. So I know the initial stuff came out. So it was beginning of December, and they were concerned for Liz Frank, which is basically season ending. It's the worst midfoot fracture or injury you can have. It's just a ligament that holds together kind of the middle. It's like a little welding point for your foot, for your maintaining arch. But anyways, they said it wasn't. They did an MRI and they showed that the ligament was still there, but they had a fracture near it. They didn't say exactly what was fractured, but if it was close enough for them to be concerned about a Liz Frank, typically it's usually a base of the metatarsal fracture, like the second or the third metatarsal is probably why they're concerned, because usually you can have a corresponding fracture with the ligament injury, and sometimes it could just be purely soft tissue and it can just be just the ligaments torn. But with them being concerned for Liz Frank and having a fracture and then having a foot fracture, it's most likely at the base. So, like you kind of have your fingers, your finger bones. Same thing for your feet, the long, skinny ones that are in the ones in your hand, but for your foot, but at the base of it, and they probably fractured. And then since he didn't do surgery, it means it probably wasn't displaced. So they need to put a pin in it or put a plate and screws. So that's a good sign too. So it'd be just kind of like typical healing of a fracture. But the thing about your foot, the blood flow isn't as great, compared to the upper extremities and things basically the farthest away from your heart. So, but typically it's about like a 6 to 8 week for the fracture to heal. And then on top of that, being able to kind of rehab it back and go back out there. Certain fractures, sometimes they'll just pin it just to kind of speed up the process. But they didn't do any of that, which would probably benefit because not having an open wound and have to worry about the wound healing too. So, I mean, with it being at the beginning of December, he's probably coming close to the point where he's probably radiographically healed, meaning that it shows that the bone's healed. But as for him being ready back on his foot and trained up in time, it's kind of a different story. But I kind of also think about with the whole Mr. Irrelevant coming in and playing hot, like you don't want to take away the hot hand. But I mean, I would say, he's already probably at that cusp now. He's probably right at that 6 week mark, but I mean 8 weeks is probably the play it safe. So coming pretty close. I mean, maybe you can make a comeback for like the conference championship, maybe Super Bowl. But I mean, I think that might even come down to a coaching decision at that point.
Probably roll with the horse. Well, so my thing is, on last week's episode I said this, I roll with the horse that got me there. So I'm with you with Brock Purdy. And just, you know what? He's gotten us this far. Let's see if he can Tom Brady or Kurt Warner that ish and get us to the Super Bowl as a backup quarterback, right? But my question with Jimmy G is, what quarterback moves would that impact, that injury? Would it impact his planting? Would it impact his push off when he goes to run? What are the things that can impact?
Well, first, like I would like to say is, just like in craps, you can't leave a heater. If you're playing hot, you got to keep rolling that dice, okay?
Yeah.
No,
but absolutely. So you're with us. You're with all of us. They're like, nope. We were so mad at Ron Rivera for starting Carson Wentz instead of keeping Taylor Heineke in. So yeah, we're like, you just got to ride the hand that got you there. Just keep going.
Just keep going. Double down. Keep playing. No, but the biggest part with that type of injury, it's in the arch of your foot. So mostly the weight bearing is probably the hardest part. So like putting the weight, on the foot, like when he steps, like puts all his weight, like you put your weight on your back foot, and then you step into it, probably your weight on the other foot. So shifting that weight and just putting it directly on the arch of the foot would probably be the issue. And then also if he as for like pivoting or moving the pocket, not big of an issue. That's more of an ankle type of thing. It's just more of the bouncing weight onto it. So running will definitely be an issue too. So that's where you kind of get your spring when you do the jump too, or like when you're running and stuff. So that would be an issue too. But at their level, they're getting like high quality like physical therapy, and they're getting like the best type of kind of bracing, splinting, all that different things. So
steroids.
It's gonna watch HGH. But it really depends on how it's healed, and it really depends like if I was able to even just see the radiographs, because who knows, like what if it's like a spiral fracture, or depending on maybe there's enough displacement where it can kind of be an issue, but enough to do surgery. There's a lot of factors in there, but I'd say the 8 weeks would be kind of the hard good to go, especially since they went non-operatively. But I guess we'll kind of see when it gets to that time, which would be probably right around that conference championship versus Super Bowl if they get there.
Probably bring him in as a backup, have him back up, Brock Purdy.
Yeah, which would be kind of an upside down world, wouldn't it be? It's like, hey, welcome back. You're backup now, So
take a seat on the bench. And the bench is where Tua found himself against Buffalo. And his situation isn't going into free agency, but it kind of is, because if you're Miami, you don't have a lot to gain by keeping him. And I guess with these concussions, one, I'd like to know your thoughts on the 3 concussions, but also, is this someone that you take that you would be willing to risk your future on as a PA and a football fan with these injuries?
No, because usually people that have concussions, usually concussion prone. There's actually doing some pretty cool science on it. They're actually looking at genetic components with concussions and what makes people more apt to getting concussions. But with his concussion history too, it just doesn't go away forever, So those are injuries that carry on. And the thing about it though, I don't think my personal opinion is kind of subjective, but I don't think the science is quite there yet with concussions. All we do is just tell them to rest and then wait. And it's like a step-by-step approach. And there's so many different protocols you can use. You have the Zurich protocols. The military has their own protocol system. Everyone has their own concussion protocol even for athletes. And it's always step-by-step approach. But each approach is always like a day-by-day. Sometimes some can take up to a week. Some can take up to 3 weeks. It really just depends on which one you use, which doesn't really show that there's like national guidelines or best of practice out there quite yet. But when our science is just rest, and then take meds for symptomatic, I don't really think we have much with him. I don't know. It really comes down to his long-term health, because we are showing, the studies of people having that the traumatic brain injuries you're having, or even just the acute mild concussions, have long-term effects. But I don't think we really know exactly the long-term effects fully at this point. But as for him, if I was him, I'd just take off the rest of the season, just rest up, because having back-to-back concussions, that's just my thought. But as for him being picked up, people are still going to get him, we're still going to pick him up in free agency. I don't think it's going to have a big bearing, in my opinion.
It's more his 5th-year option, right? It's more, are they going to pick up his 5th-year option? Is it worth it? I suppose if Tampa Tom rolls in, why would you pick up that 5th-year option?
Yeah, but if they don't, they're kind of stuck with them. You kind of have to take it, and plus taking a 5th-year option is kind of a cheaper route to do it. And plus, he showed that he's good. When he's good, he's good. Like he had that little run in the regular season, so.
He was the number when he was healthy. He was the number one quarterback in the NFL in both completion percentage, yards per completion.
Yeah,
he went off. And one of those games he had a concussion. We come to find out against Buffalo. The end of that game, he was playing with a concussion.
And who knows? Maybe the concussion will be affecting him. What's that?
Well, that was one thing I keyed in on. Is you said we're looking at the long-term effects, and obviously Tua is proven he is susceptible to concussions, whether it be whatever theory you want to subscribe to. He falls wrong, he's too small, he plays wrong, like whatever some theory you want to subscribe to, he's prone to concussions. And you said you're currently in the medical industry, in your industry, they're testing experimenting with what the long-term effects may be. And I was going to ask, is that in conjunction with chronic traumatic encephalopathy? Is there like
that's kind of
a tie?
So. Well, because when he has that injury, that's called like an acute, and basically the same thing. So the chronic with that encephalopathy is just basically kind of like having constant concussions is kind of the layman's term for it. And because of having constant injury to your noggin for a long time, kind of creates that you kind of fall into that bucket of having that condition, which is more concerning than acute concussions, which is kind of where Tua is falling under at this moment. But in the future, he probably will fall into that category, if he keeps going the pace he is, because it's not healthy for you to not only have concussion, but like the one where he had like what we call neuroscience with him having noticeable like neurodeficits, which is very concerning. So sometimes just getting kind of where you don't lose consciousness, but you're feeling kind of out of it a little bit, that's fine. But like losing consciousness and having neurodeficits, that from a neurological standpoint, that's very concerning. So, and it seems like they're getting worse each time, but just based on what I've seen. But I mean, that's just, I'm not on the medical staff, obviously, so it's just all subjective, but it looks bad every time. It looks worse, I'd say.
I was going to say, for our fans, can you kind of explain why his fingers would go into that catatonic state, why his body would seize up, what type of concussion or knockout that would be where your body seizes?
I mean, there's a lot of things that can kind of cause that. I mean, I could sit here forever and give a whole differential for it, but
don't do that.
Essentially,
we got another player to get to.
yes, but no, just to put it like in layman terms, it's just kind of shock the nerve there for a second. So, and it's just kind of what it does when it's not really getting any feedback, type of thing. So there's different things. There's such a long rabbit hole, but basically there's certain things that your body does whenever there is a neuro injury to it. And you could have like the Glasgow scale and go deeper down that rabbit hole too. But no, that just means it's just more of a bigger injury than his other concussions. So, but it's essentially just the nerve, just kind of, I guess a kind of a rudimentary way to put it. It's just kind of like almost like a shock or injury, but you look like you recovered from it. So that's good.
All right.
If that makes sense.
And no, it does make sense. It's just we've learned, we've grown we've evolved as humans and football fans to actually care about the people underneath the helmets, right? We actually care about them a little bit now, and we don't want to. If it's seriously bad for his life moving forward, we want all the information, even if it's different. Like you said, it's a bit subjective coming from you because you're not on the staff, but everybody can see things. Everybody has visibility to certain things and can give an opinion, which is okay. It's okay to give an opinion. You're not saying as a matter of fact, but I mean, I would tend as a layman to agree with you. Like, he probably should look at maybe taking a year off, taking a couple years off, getting his brain together. But someone that's not going to be taking a year off because he's going to get paid, like back up the Brinks truck, is Lamar Jackson. He is an unrestricted free agent this year. Many people think the Ravens are just going to franchise tag him if they can't work out a deal. But he's got a knee injury, right? So this was one you were excited to talk about because they're fun to work on, you said.
Yeah.
So what is going on with Lamar?
Well, first of all, him having his family as his agent, bold move, Cotton. Bold move. So we'll see if that pays off
for him. For Selena. Bad joke.
Touche. Yeah. Oh, too soon.
So, sorry, El Paso.
It's always too soon. No, I was kidding. Yeah. No, but no, because I have like a little extra ortho training, so that's why I like these like ortho stuff. That's why when you go to brain stuff, I'm like, whatever, it's fine. Where's the bones? Where's the bones of muscle? No, but
Gotcha.
he had a PCL injury, and when I looked into it before this, it looked like it was a grade 2, borderline grade 3. But how PCL injuries work. So the only ones that are really like definitely surgical are grade 3s that have what we call a bony avulsion. That's where whenever the PCL tears, it pulls like a piece of bone with it too. And when that happens, that one's automatically kind of a surgery. But if he was close enough to a grade 3, there's a surgical indication for young athletes to do it. So, and from a medical perspective, he's considered young, not NFL young, but medically perspective, he's young.
He's
So if he was close enough to,
right? He's like 25, I want to say, right?
yeah, but you know how the NFL is like, like what, and it's so mean. Like whenever they say, "Oh man, he's so freaking old," and they say his age, I'm like, he's younger than me. I'm like, this is BS,
I tell people all the time. The first time it like looked me in the eyes that I was old was when I used to have a Madden football league with some friends, and we would be on the mic while we were doing a fantasy draft. And we were all saying, "No, that guy's way too old. I'm not drafting him." And then he's like a year younger than me, and I'm like, "Man."
Exactly. Or when they talk about how old they are, like when you're watching the live games, you're just like, cool. But no, so yeah, with his injury, if it's close enough to a grade 3, he would have surgery, which is a complete tear. Grade 2 is also what's considered a complete tear, but there's no capsular injury, which is a fancy word for like kind of like your knee joint, the little sac that kind of keeps the fluid in there to kind of keep your knee gliding how it's supposed to in the range of motion. You kind of have that capsule that it's in, and if there's some injury to that, it means it's more of a serious injury. So, and plus having an isolated PCL injury, it's not like an ACL where once it's torn, it's done, right?
Yeah.
But grade 2s, you can it'll scar down, it'll be fine, the type of thing. But it's just what you do is, and plus if he had a grade 3 or borderline grade 3, he'd be locked out in extension. That means his knees just locked straight out. And it's to be like that for like 4 weeks, which it doesn't seem like he is when we see him. Yeah, but but with the PCLs, with the grade 2s, you can do 2 to 4 weeks of just like with like a protective brace, and then just doing some serious rehab with it, and just kind of giving time for that PCL scar down. And obviously, grade 1's a partial tear, which I don't think he has, because that would have been a different story. You could probably possibly played on it with that grade or with that PCL tear. It kind of makes you vulnerable for other knee injuries. So it's the more stout of the 4 legs. You have your ACL, PCL, LCL, LCL and MCL, which are all 4 ligaments that kind of hold your knee together. And the PCL is the most stout one. So, and then I think he also had it was either LCL or MCL, one of the smaller ligaments on the side that was also torn. And then, not having that complete knee stability, if he went back out there, he could really risk probably the integrity of his knee, and possibly even put him at risk for a meniscal tear. Because once you have instability of your knee or any type of internal derangement, it makes you more predisposed to tearing your meniscus or even another ligament injury. So for him, with him, the severity kind of is based on kind of what the media is kind of saying, which, like I said, not being on the medical stuff, you can't really know exactly what it is about seeing that MRI. But I
think he just said said there was severe swelling in his tweet. There's swelling in his tweet.
Swole. Yeah. No, it will. I mean, because those ligaments are inside the knee joint. So, and when you tear anything, it bleeds. So it's probably just full. And that's one of the first signs we look on physical examination is if you see what we call joint effusion, because that could be it could be filled with blood. It could just be from just inflammation in there. But usually when you have that gross kind of swelling of the knee, then you kind of are worried about maybe like a tear in the meniscus, like in the vascular portion, or a ligament tear. So, but like for ACL or PCL, obviously the ACL is the more common one over the PCL. But just good thing it's not surgical. But I mean, I would say he has to at least wait. I think they're going to play it safe, and he's probably is too, especially being in a contract year. So we'll probably have to give him the full month for him to come back. And I don't recall off the top of my head. Do you remember when the injury was?
It was in the month of December, but they lost, right? So they lost to the Bengals. So he's So you, based on, let me just lay the bag of snakes out flat. What you're saying is he did the right move. He made the right call to rest, to not play.
100%. Just because his knee is vulnerable. So I think he played it the right way. And plus you need that piece for him to do any movement or any of that stuff. He needs that. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are like specific braces where you can really just lock out and protect certain things, but they're not perfect, especially if you have men tackling you and grabbing the legs. Like, it's not a perfect world. So, I mean,
and his style of play is so movement based and quick burst, that if he doesn't have that, I guess he's vulnerable.
And because the point of the PCL is to keep that tibia from sliding back and going too far back. And then when you're running, you're stressing that all the way, and you're just going to re-damage all the healing you already have done on it. So, yeah, I think it was smart on his part. But, yeah, there's no way he can come back from that. But he'll be ready next year easily. Like, if it was surgery, and he'll be fine. He'll be back to where he's at. It's just when you're at surgery, it's just a different story. You just don't know how they do, Like, the science has changed a little bit, like, especially with, like, Achilles. Achilles used to be, like, almost career-ending. People are coming back quick with that and even better than they were before. But ACLs and stuff like that, or any, like, those knee surgeries, they're still about the same. Like, you're kind of, especially like an ACL, like you're just not kind of the same after that. And plus, whenever you tear like an ACL, you actually have a 10% chance higher of tearing the other side of your knee. So it's just like puts that other.
Is that due to pressure, like compensation? You're compensating more.
They actually don't know, but it's just they show it in studies that you just have a 10% higher. They don't know if it's just you're genetically predisposed to it, or maybe that your gait's a little bit different, or maybe it's just like having that other side that's not matching your contralateral side or the other side of your leg. So, but they just know that once you tear your ACL, you have a 10% chance of tearing the other. So, and there's also a weird thing. There's some people that are born without ACLs, but that's a whole other story.
So we've got the no ACL, which is, I'm going to call that our RPA is saying, let's pass on Tua for now. But that Lamar Jackson and Jimmy Garoppolo will recover. And if they're free agency targets for your team, they'll be okay. They're going to be fine.
100%. If they had surgery on both of those other two, it'd be a totally different story. But yeah, I would say totally take them.
Okay, so I would be remiss if I did not state the obvious. He is from Jacksonville, and he is a Jags fan.
Oh, this old thing. Duval versus all y'all.
And they have made it pretty far. I called the game. If anyone listened to last week's episode, I said I think the Jags are going to win. The Jags pulled it out. Old cleaning his boat on the marina, Doug Peterson looking guy was able to coach him to a win. And Travis Etienne looks perfectly healthy off his ACL tear.
No, his was a Liz Frank.
Oh, Liz Frank. So he also had the foot break then.
Yeah, not a good one.
Okay. Yeah, 'cause he was out all year.
Yeah, he didn't have a rookie year. This is his rookie year essentially.
And he was fantastic. So good they traded Robinson. And he was having a good year when they traded him. What I was going to say though is, how do you feel about marching into Kansas City?
Oh my God. Nervous, tight butthole, very nervous. No, it's gonna be a game, man. But this is just a different team. I don't know if any other like NFL nerds. This reminds me of the 1996 team where we started out really, really cold, and then all of a sudden got this hot streak and getting in the playoffs and winning our playoff game and going to the AFC Championship.
And Mark Brunell.
Yep, and with our newly minted Hall of Famer Tony Baselli, also the all '90s team. But
way too late, anyway. By the way, way too late. He should have been in the Hall of Fame forever ago.
I know, but they always say it's his injuries. He didn't play long enough. But no, it reminds me a lot of that team. And man, this team's just never out. And then kind of back on the Chargers part, like we beat them at the beginning of the year when our team wasn't found its identity yet, or how we kind of learned how to win, and we beat them 38-10. So I mean, we knew how to play the Chargers. Plus, I think it's more of a Charger meltdown than it is a Jaguar comeback. But our team's never out. Like if you look at all of our prior wins, like our last like 6 or 7 wins, we've always started out at a deficit. I mean, when we played your Raiders, we were down 17-0 at half and came back. Like, don't mean to rub it in, but like by far though, that game was the top game for the Jags in our entire history. But I mean, it didn't have like a definitive moment, kind of like when David Garrard did that 4th and 2. But when you go to 4th and 2, like when David Garrard ran that 4th and 2 in Pittsburgh in the playoffs, like it didn't have a defining like moment like that where it's like a particular play. But I mean, the game overall was just amazing. Like him bouncing back with that, because you see those quarterbacks when they get that glaze over their eyes once they throw those picks and they're like out of the game. He had that look. I was like, here we go, we're gonna go Jaguaring again, but he shook it off and he had that poise and step in the pocket and just right. And that's what you get from the great quarterbacks. I don't know. I'm thrilled. I mean, you remember, I've been down for a long time. I tell my girlfriend.
Oh, have you? I'm a Raiders fan.
Yeah, I know. We both have had it bad, but I'm just saying is like I always tell the girlfriend, I'm like, at least I'm loyal. I've been suing this team this long. I mean, so it's great, man. I didn't think I knew we were going to be better than we were before, but I know Doug Peterson is the real coach. He's really turned the team around. I was really surprised, and I mean, all our free agency signings were fantastic, which we all got made fun of about. I mean, they're doing amazing.
You're obviously all in, and just so all the fans know, next year. Because I've already predicted a Kansas City win. Sorry, I did make a prediction, but I'm not a fan.
Oh, I was still giving my prediction. So before you go on to this,
I'm superstitious.
Oh, see, I am too. That's why I cannot say we're going to lose, because then we'll lose. So I think. All right. So I will say this. This is actually what I believe. Like this is like me taking off the teal shade sunglasses or glasses here. All right. I think we'll keep it close to the fourth quarter. I think we'll be within a score or two and keep it close in the fourth quarter. But now with my superstition and being a diehard fan, let's just say it's going to be a shootout. I'm going to say like 34-38 Jags.
All right. And on that note, we will let you go. We appreciate it. We need to get you in more, maybe for basketball, maybe some MMA. Whenever we can get a hold of you, we will do our best.
Sounds good, man. It was awesome to be on.
Now, as we move forward, we want to make sure that we're giving our friends in Europe something to munch on. And I know I'm the only one keeping up with this, but the transfer window is open. Chelsea will not stop spending money, to include Mudryk. Sorry for what?
For spending all that money.
Oh, God. I did not put two and two together. I'm sorry. I didn't grow up in a household with her, Wes. I apologize that the first thought that came to my mind was that joke. My bad, Wes. But I didn't think that Chelsea, the football team,
Chelsea FC,
doesn't happen again, would be in such a spending fit when they just can't make it work with some great players that they already have. So they decide, what are we going to do? We're going to spend all the money, not just some of the money. And they're under new ownership, so I guess that's to be expected. But they are on a spree. And again, with the highlight of Mudryk, who could have gone to Arsenal, but Arsenal, it looks like they're going to hold out for this summer and sign Declan Rice from West Ham, which is the jewel of all of signings right now in European football. Declan Rice is amazing. English national team, obviously. He's fantastic, but he's on a team that's probably getting relegated this year. There's Wes's face. That's exactly what I was talking about, Chelsea. I don't know if you saw it. Yeah, I don't know if you saw it, but whenever I talk about something that Wes is not interested in, he did the exact face, rolled his eyes, and leaned back in his chair, and then he's like, oh, I have to act like I'm interested. Yes. So we can get Wes back. I'm just going to say this. Aston Villa signing a young striker from the MLS Americans. He is a Colombian striker, but Duran, we'll see what he can do. Ollie Watkins appears to have a nick, so he might get some playing time sooner than we thought. Now, right before we went on air, Kansas lost in the most Flint Tropics way possible ever. Did you guys see how Kansas State beat Kansas?
No. But
so when I go ahead.
No,
when I say the most Flint Tropics way ever, what is it? What is the song for Flint Tropics with Will Ferrell? Love Me Tender, right? It was a love me tender moment because Kansas State beat Kansas on an alley-oop. in the very last seconds of the game, right? So it was so funny to me, and I don't want to make the same reference twice because our interview last week, Lucci referenced this, but it is kind of like whenever you see the alley-oop, you're like, that's got to be a penalty, right? What do we call on it? I don't know, but it's got to be illegal whenever the team wins with an alley-oop. So hats off to Kansas State taking down the number 2 team in the nation in Kansas.
Hats off to the Ducks for taking down
Arizona,
which
That's
was
true.
What were they? They were ranked like 5, I think, at the time. They were down at
they were
11.
at 9.
I had them at 5.
Yeah,
I had
they
them
were
at
5
during the
beforehand.
game.
Yeah.
I think they dropped to 9 after they lost by 20 points.
Yeah, they got that ass whooped.
It wasn't even a game you had to pay attention to.
The Ducks needed that because they got slaughtered by Arizona State the game before, and they just have not looked that good this year. But they were supposed to be really good. They were like preseason top 15, and that was a big win. We needed that.
They're ranked 9.
That's so weird. I thought I had them at 5 on mine. No, she just took a picture from the game, Wes. You're not going to prove her wrong. She's correct. But Wes, in your defense, I thought I saw the same thing on ESPN. I thought I saw them at ranked 5 when they lost. So I did think Oregon knocked out a top 5 team. But let's just talk about what we think is going to happen, because we actually did pretty well. I think we each only lost 2 games because we both picked the Bucks and we both picked the Vikings. So let's pick again. Let's try this again. I don't want to do prediction radio, but what do we got for the Jags and the Chiefs, Wes?
Jags and the Chiefs.
Chiefs.
Do you have a spread for us in that game? What are the Chiefs supposed to win by?
Let's see. The spread.
Because I picked the Chiefs too, by the way.
Chiefs are favored by 8.5.
So do they win by? Yes, yeah. I think they win by 14 points.
Yeah.
It's
Jags are garbage.
The Jags defense is not going to stop that Chiefs offense. Andy Reid, I hope he goes down as one of the best offensive minds ever and one of the best head coaches, because what he was able to do in Philadelphia and what he's done in Kansas City is just phenomenal.
But then we got another game. Only to the greatest offensive prodigy in the world, Josh McDaniels.
Oh my God, shut up. All right, so the Giants play the Eagles in a divisional playoff match.
That one's Eagles 7.5.
Eagles 7.5. I think it's closer than that. I don't think the Eagles cover. I don't think the Eagles cover, but I definitely think they win.
Yeah, I think they're going to win for the 3rd time this season too. Okay. I would be really surprised.
Yeah, I got Eagles. I got Eagles.
Still rooting for the Giants though.
Chelsea, do you think they cover though? 2 scores?
I don't. This last, because they played them just on the 8th, and it was close. What was that score?
I think it's going to be back and forth.
I think it's going to be a close game because I think the Giants are just going to try to win by ball control. So the Giants are going to run the ball nonstop.
Yeah, they'll probably do some of those long plays that just eat up a ton of the clock. Yeah, I think it'll be a low-scoring game, and I think it'll be like right at 7 points. I think, like my brother said, I think the score will flop a few different times.
Okay. Bengals, Bills.
Bills are favored by 5.
That sounds about right, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think I've got the Bills, and I think they cover. Yeah.
I don't know.
Burrow boy so magic. Too. You guys are on it. Look at you. Look at Burrow has made you contemplate everything after that run to the Super Bowl last year.
I know. I'm sitting here and I'm just like, oh my gosh. I think I'm going to go ahead and take the Bengals on this one.
All right. I'm going with the Bills to cover.
No, the Bills looked a little shaky in the last game. They looked like they definitely had some room for improvement there. So, yeah.
So what we've got is all of us on the Chiefs and covering 2 scores against the Jaguars. All of us on the Eagles and no cover from any of us for the Eagles winning by 2 scores. And we've got Wes and Fry have the Bills covering, and Chelsea has the Bengals in the points, huh?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. All right. Cowboys 49ers. Take me right back to 1994. Take me right there.
49ers are favored by 3.5.
Okay. I think they cover. Yeah, me too. And the cover.
Duh, boys!
Really?
No. Ew.
Yep.
Oh,
I know what this is.
The Brock Purdy magic is going to run out.
This is Wes.
I hate the Cowboys. I hate the Cowboys so much. You've known me. Ever since you know me, I despise the Cowboys. But you know what?
This is you overcorrecting, Wes, for them beating Tom Brady. That's what's happening right now. Is the Cowboys beat Tom Brady, and now you're going to overcorrect.
No, it's the Brock Purdy magic is running out.
Brad's got it right. But
he's not going to admit it, but that's what it is.
No, so I hate
that gets the Westra dumbass seal of approval.
Westro dumbass strikes again. We'll see.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Chelsea.
I was going to say, so I have a funny story about why I hate the Cowboys personally. In 1995, I actually was in the Super Bowl halftime show, and the Cowgirls came out.
No mountain high enough.
But the Cowgirls came through the same tunnel that we were all standing at, and they were making fun of our little outfits that we, of course, did not get to choose whatsoever. And so
they were making fun of your outfits?
Yes, they
as
were.
Adults?
The Cowgirls were like picking on the children's choir that I was with, and they were just like they were standing right there, right across from us, just letting us have it. And we were all like, I was in 5th grade, fifth grade, and just. So yeah, I hate the Cowboys.
You were crying while you were singing "Ain't No Mountain." You were like in tears. Was your toddlers and tiaras like eyeliner just running? Your mascara. That's so mean of them, though. Like adults picking on children
It was. Whoever those women were, they were mean. They were very.
That's not very.
That was their last Cowboys won that Super Bowl, didn't they?
Yeah, against the Steelers.
Yeah.
Wes, like, take it easy, breathe. They were playing against Neil O'Donnell. All right, like, let's all calm down.
Well, no, I was gonna say that's the last time they even won a playoff game until like 3 days ago.
Yeah.
No. That was it was 1993 that they won an away playoff game.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, they've won other playoff games since then.
I think they went like on a 10-year streak or 20-year streak of not winning a playoff game, though. I think it was under Dak Prescott. I think it was under Dak Prescott that streak was broken, if I'm not mistaken. They had lost so many because Wes referenced it in the production meeting. The Tony Romo mishold was the chance they had to win a playoff game for the first time in like 20 years. And they obviously lost that game.
Man.
Yeah.
And that was
crazy.
his legacy.
Like when I think about it, the Seahawks have gotten so lucky in wildcard games, like the Tony Romo hold, and then the Vikings when they missed like the chip field goal. It's crazy.
So much crazy.
We couldn't pull it off against the 49ers.
So much crazy in so little time. We always wish we could spend more time with you. We wish we could dig into more of these things, but please keep in mind, we've got an hour to cover a full week of action, and we would love to like deep dive some of this stuff and really get into conversation on it. We just don't have the time. But if there's anything we missed, you could reach out to us on our YouTube channel at TheSadFan, all one word. Neither one of these two will take up social media. One for a very good reason. One just because he gets banned from everybody's accounts because he can't stop talking. But you don't worry, kids. You can reach me at TheSadFan on Twitter or at TheSadFancast, and we will be there. We will take your suggestions, and we will talk about what you ask us to talk about. Whether you like how we talk about it or not is another story. Thanks so much for turning into TheSadFan. We will see you all next week.
Bye.